Hello, everyone. This is Ed Brenniger, and welcome to the Eddie Network podcast. And my guest today is Johanna Bengtson, who is a law student in Switzerland. Welcome, Johanna. I am really glad that you're here. I've enjoyed getting to know you over the last 6 or 8 months, and I hope you're doing well.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm also happy to be here. So really curious where our conversation will lead us today.
Me too. Me too. And tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from and why you're in law school, all those kind of things, just to kind of give us a sense of who you are.
All right. So I live in Switzerland in a city called St. Gallen. I go to university here. It's a pretty known university. And yeah, I chose to study law there basically because I did not know what to do. I thought that was a good option. I have a lot of different doors open afterwards. So yeah, it was not that I really had a passion for it in the beginning. So now I'm pretty happy like I chose this path, but yeah.
Do you have a specific specialization in law that you're interested in?
Actually, I'm working on my thesis right now, and I'm looking into different questions related to workations, which is like this whole new concept of people traveling, going on a vacation, but working from a different location.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of different questions coming up now in different law fields. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I think it's pretty interesting because it's just completely new kind of concept, and people are really enjoying it. And of course, I want them to be able to do it without any legal risks. So doing my best to give all the green lights.
I'm sure there's quite a bit because the laws from one country to the next are quite different in many cases.
Yeah, it's quite a tricky topic, but there are a lot of gray zones still. So kind of trying to use these loopholes, and yeah.
So then that could well mean that you traveled a lot, because you have to you go where your clients are, and if they're running around the world, you're going to have to chase after them and have be servicing them. Well, that's really fascinating. So there's another thing that you're doing at St. Gallen, and as a leader, and tell us about what that is, and tell us about the organization you lead.
Yeah, so my university is a business university, so we have a lot of different clubs where a student can engage into different topics. And I lead a club called Ignite, which is a purpose-driven business club. And like our motto is inspired employees for a more meaningful business world. So we look into different leadership styles, different company cultures that are enabling employees to flourish, to fulfill their full potential in their work. And we're looking into different organizational designs that are kind of different from the traditional hierarchical designs that we used to have. So it's a really, really interesting topic. And we have this big conference every year where we invite different keynote speakers, workshop hosts, and companies that serve as best practice examples. So it's quite interesting to meet all these different organizations and people that think a little bit differently, but it really opens up a lot of doors at the university as well, and also I think opens a lot of eyes just to see like a different approach to leadership and management. So I'm super passionate about this topic.
That's great. I am too, and I think that's why we've connected so well. Do you have a particular way of talking about leadership that is your perspective or Ignite's perspective? How do you define leadership?
Ooh. Well, for me, a leader is a person that really lives a specific idea or mission and can really like transfer this mission to his employees, to the whole organization. So if you call it a mission or you call it a purpose, but I think a leader should have a purpose that really motivates and engages people around them, and it can like really convince people to follow this person. And for me, it's not only about like this one person being above all of them, like not at all. It's not our approach at Ignite. It's more about like also a collaborative leadership, people going together, like building a mission together and following the same purpose. So yeah, that's a leader for me.
And the students that are involved with Ignite, were they part of the planning team for the conference that you just had?
Yeah.
So they're planning the conference. They're learning how to do that sort of event sort of planning and performance. And I understand it was really a huge success.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, many hours, but it was such an amazing experience. It's the second time, like this is the first time I organized a conference together with my team, and the second time I was like part of the team organizing the conference. So it was kind of a different role as well. But for me, like I learned so much, so many different experiences, like how to also lead in certain situations, how to be a team, how to keep up the motivation. But I also learned so much from the speakers at the conference. I got to know so many interesting personalities, and they also got to connect with each other, which I found was the best thing about the conference, just to bring people together, and create this community where we talk about human-centered leadership and about purpose. So yeah, it was great.
It sounds like it. I wish I could have been there, but if there was, that it wasn't possible at the time.
Yeah. Next time.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
I would love that, because you have invited me into the circle of your student group, the Ignite group, and allowed me to spend some time with them, and I'm very grateful for that, because it's not often that someone as old as I am get to hang out with a bunch of early 20 somethings, and I love that, because I feel like I haven't grown up yet, so I'm more like you all than maybe people my age. So when we met, and we had we spent an hour and a half, or maybe it was 2 hours, 2.5 hours. We spent a long time together last fall on a Zoom call like we're doing here, and and it was set up where I would say something for 5 minutes, and then we would just talk, and they would ask questions, and we were engaged in it, and it was really phenomenal. I was very impressed with your students, and so what it was an entry point for me was to hang out with a group of people in the Gen Z generational cohort, and to learn a little bit about them. I've spent a lot of time with millennials, and I'm wondering how you describe your generation, and how it is different, say, than the millennial generation, who is the closest to you, but also maybe the Gen Xers and the boomers like me. And how do you see yourself in that way?
I think it's difficult to describe us, but I can kind of see differences between the different generations in different contexts. So professionally, I can see a big difference of what, for example, I expect from my professional career versus what my boyfriend, who is a millennial, expects from his professional career.
Oh.
We have very, very different perceptions. And yeah, like, for example, like me, and I can maybe also speak for my group of friends within Ignite, we want to have a career that is more flexible and not really stagnant or fixed, like for the next 10 years. That we want some more uncertainty as well, and room to kind of evolve and to transform our careers and also to fit into different positions along the way. So when I see people talking about like their professional purposes, for example, I don't see a job as a purpose. Like I don't see myself like in this role, I will fulfill my purpose. I just see like that I have a certain set of qualities that I can use, that I know that I'm good at, and I look for different jobs or roles where I can really fulfill my potential. And I feel like we are much more aware of what we maybe want in order to fulfill our purpose, or maybe we're looking for more meaning. And we question our lives more, or our professional careers. This is where I see a difference. And I also think that I can't speak for anybody else, but when I speak for myself, I kind of see my life like in different chapters. So now I'm almost done with my master's degree, and I have like a couple of months more, and then I'm out there like in the world, and I know that I want to have a job for a couple of years where I can travel, where I can go to different places, and where I can also be flexible. So I can still have an academic career, and I can have my professional career where I can really get some practical insights. But I just know that this is going to be my next maybe 3 to 5 years. And then I know that I'm going to do something different afterwards, because I get kind of, I don't get bored, but I seek for new challenges. I just want to constantly have some change. I want to see new things. And I think that's something I see that is quite common in my group of friends. And I don't think there is the same urge for that kind of change in other generations. I don't say that the one thing is better than the other, but I think we are more like, maybe we have the fear of missing out, actually. It can be kind of FOMO that we have in our generation. I think that's possible. I think we're not as content maybe as the other generations before. We always want some new inputs. We need some new kind of challenges all the time. And I see a difference here between me and my boyfriend, for example. He's also looking to evolve and grow and so far and so forth, but he doesn't really have the same idea of a professional life as I have. For him, it's more like, oh yeah, so I do my job, and I'm happy with my job. And he doesn't really think in chapters as I do. It's more like, maybe he's more in the moment, and we are much more like planning ahead and knowing that there is some kind of uncertainty. But I think we also need it. We need this autonomy and flexibility, and I think that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, I totally get that. You have described the way I've conducted my career, and I look for, and when I went to the university, I looked for the broadest program I could get, because I felt everything was too narrow. And then I chose a career. I went into ministry because I felt like that was the broadest kind of scope of work I could do, because I could meet all kinds of different people, do all kinds of different things. And then I ended up higher education for a few years, and then I started a business. But that fear of missing out was so prominent in the way I approached my life. I mean, fear of missing out on an idea. I mean, this is where all these books. I mean, this is a third of the books I own. And I'm always constantly, I don't know anything about that. So where are the next 5 books I'm going to buy, and we're going to read those and absorb that and become not so much a master of that, but have enough facility for knowing how to talk to someone in that field, so that I can learn from them and not always feel like I'm at the starting point of learning something. I'm already in the process of learning when I begin to have that conversation, which provided a great deal of flexibility in what I do and where I go. So what you're describing is very, very familiar. And do you feel like people in your generation generally share this idea. And I'm leading up to another question, but do you feel like Gen Zers like this sense of flexibility and the sense of openness and of chasing after the opportunities that life has?
I think, of course, there are always like different kinds of people, and everybody has a different. I see like there are a lot of generalists and a lot of specialists, and I am certainly a generalist. But for example, like with the topic I'm dealing with right now, with the workation for my master's thesis, this is something that people are really like actively looking for. They want to have more flexibility in their careers so they can also travel at the same time and they can be in different places. They don't want to be in the same office at the same desk every day. They want to have more quality of life. They want to have just a different kind of work-life balance and also more flexibility. And they know that, okay, I can take 1 or 2 months off per year and I can go to Mexico and I can work from there and drink some margaritas on the beach at the same time and enjoy my life instead of being in my boring office in my small town. So people are really like, they like this idea. Companies also start to acknowledge that, okay, maybe I need this sort of concept for my my employer branding. I think companies are also aware that my generation is looking for more flexibility, autonomy, and also just more opportunities to grow within an organization and to not to be like locked in one position, but also to know that, okay, maybe after 2 years I'm sick and tired of just doing the same tasks every day. I want to like grow and find another position within the company, and they know that they have to enable employees to really do that as well. I can bring up an example. I was at a career fair last week.
Okay.
And I talked to different companies and I was asking them about, so how does it look? Do I have to be at the office at all times, or can I work from home? Do I have certain times that I have to work? And they were like, no, we're super flexible. And I almost heard it from every company. So they know that we want to hear it. So they are aware. So I think it's kind of, this aspect is certainly something that my generation is really looking for.
And so with that change, with that flexibility, comes a different way of managing and evaluating employees, and that's what's interesting to me, because if you think about it, the old way of doing things, you've had this hierarchy, and everybody's in their space, everybody's in their cubicle, everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and it's a very mechanical, machine-like environment. Now, and I think COVID kind of accelerated this change. People are wanting to work from home, or they can work from the coffee shop. There's a lot of people on YouTube who are living in a van. They outfitted their van and they're traveling all over the world in a van, and they're making a living by shooting YouTube videos. This is their business. The question is this. The question I have, and I don't know if you have an answer to this, is this simply a reaction to what has happened, or is this going to be a trend that extends for a generation or more into the future? And I'm curious as to what you think.
Well, I think this is going to stick. I don't think people are going to want to go back to old routines, like this very narrow-minded idea of what a job looks like. I mean, there are studies that show that performance has gone up. People are more productive when they can be like in the home office, or if they can work flexibly and have this autonomy of maybe working abroad. Or I think people, they don't want to go back to this old-fashioned idea of work. And as you said, COVID really accelerated this process. So I think people already wanted this kind of work life before, but nobody really dared to bring this idea up. Or I know that most people would have said that this is completely impossible, and what are you talking about? Like working from home, working from your vacation? Like, are you crazy? And or this new kind of autonomy, and because it's and now it's the reality, and it's kind of normal, and everybody does it, and I think it's gonna last. I don't think it's gonna go back
When
to.
you were growing up as a child,
Mhm.
I mean, you grew up in a family and you grew up in a community,
Mhm.
neighborhood or a town. Did you grow up in St. Gallen? Is that where you're from?
It's just a village like outside of St.
Okay.
Gallen.
So
So
you lived in a
yeah.
village, you lived, and and you knew the people that lived around you. And the question I have is, what happens to those places when people decide they're going to spend 2 months in Mexico, or they're going to go to Morocco for a month, or they're going to go to Vienna and spend 6 months, or whatever. They come to the U.S. and spend some time, and when they're so flexible and they can move wherever. What happens to those communities in sense of their sense of community? What do you think will be happening there?
I think like most people still want to have some kind of home base where they have the center of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also something I'm asking myself right now. Like I grew up pretty internationally at the same time. Like both my parents are from Sweden. We have family there, and we also have an apartment from like a long time ago in Spain. So I was always like between Sweden, Switzerland, Spain. I was kind of like all over the place, and um for me it was always kind of hard to feel where is my actual base. So I actually don't really like to be bound to a location. But I feel like most people, I still feel the most at home in Switzerland because I live here most of my life. But I think just having the option to go to other places and to be more open to different opportunities and to see the world, I don't think it has to interfere with your home base or like your community and family life. But yeah, I don't know, maybe this is also going to change and people are going to want to have way more flexibility and to travel all over the the world all the
Yeah,
time.
I totally agree with you, and I welcome it, because what it will put a premium on will be our relationships and how we can nurture and sustain relationships by using simply a Zoom call or a phone, and I think that is different than having the structure of a business be sort of the place where all those relationships happen. Structure,
Hmm.
the structure is changing, and 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 I think that's what your generation is going to show us, how to manage a new world where the old structural hierarchies are no longer as valid or functioning as healthily as they once did.
Hmm.
It's going to
Hmm.
be interesting. So
Yeah.
what else do you think we who are not Gen Zers need to understand, or maybe how we should relate to you? How should let me back up and do it this way. How should we approach your generation, in terms of wanting to develop a relationship with you all as this generation that is really just now really coming into its own? You got any thoughts about that?
um I think, I mean, it's funny, we both, like the two of us, we have pretty like similar mindsets, and I think it would be very, very generalistic to say that, okay, like all Gen Zs are this way, all millennials are this way, all Gen X are this way. Because I've gotten to know a lot of different people from different age groups that have kind of a similar mindset, but maybe feel like we build connections with people that are kind of like-minded. And then of course there are, I'm sure, like when I'm talking about these new ways of working and being super flexible and everything, and then I'm sure people listening right now that are like, Yes, but what about like this old kind of traditional way of working? And is that wrong? Or maybe they feel even insulted of my approach. And I feel that's kind of like a, I wouldn't say it's a generation clash. It's more like a mindset clash.
Oh yeah,
So
very well
it's
said.
kind of, yeah, it's difficult sometimes. Yeah, when I talk to people and they have a different kind of approach or opinion, and then yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to kind of find a common.
To me, the
Yeah.
um, the starting point is simply having respect for that other person,
Hmm.
regardless of what their age is.
Yeah.
And if you're, here I am, I'm almost 70. I'll turn 70 in June. And I don't feel 70. I don't feel like I'm in my 60s. I feel more like I'm in my 40s. But I can relate. I feel like I can go relate to anyone because my starting point is I'm interested in you. I respect you. I have something to learn from you. I'm not here
Hmm.
to tell you what you should do. I'm not here to judge you. And I think those sorts of practices, mindset to mindset, of, in terms of how we approach one another, I think is going to be a key to the future. And I think many in your generation understand this, but not all, because I think they're in some ways, some of them are the products of my generation's approach to life and the way we have constructed schools and constructed businesses. And and I know that in terms of my attitude towards business was shaped by my father's attitude towards his boss, and he talked about his boss and in such a way it was that today I would say my dad's relationship to his boss was probably like most people's relationship to their boss. But
Hmm.
when I was hearing this as a child at the supper table every night, I was thinking, I don't want to go into that world. That's not that's excuse me, I'm going to go do something else because I don't want to be under that kind of scrutiny. And
Yeah.
it's and I think that that is changing, and we have the opportunity to cross these boundaries, cross
Hmm.
these thresholds of culture and of age and of ethnic and uh, differences, so that we can actually learn what's going on in the world and learn to relate and to support one another. So
Absolutely.
that's really good. So what is it that you would like us to know about Ignite, that in a way that we could support you in what you're doing with your organization? Is there a way for us to contribute or be a part of that?
Um, I mean, for us, it would be great also to have like kind of like an online presence and to have an online platform for people to connect. I mean, all of our events, they're basically in Switzerland, so it's not that
Right.
international. Um, but of course, like we organize this conference every year where we have very, very international speakers. But I think it's also great just to have and build an online community where people can, yeah, share their thoughts about what does it mean to be a purpose-driven business, or what's the role of personal purpose in one's career, or I think it's just we can learn so much from each other. And I mean, we also met through an online community, and I feel like we can really, everybody has a different kind of yeah, uh, background and different kind of approach when it comes to these questions. So I think, yeah, just
Is
reaching
there
out and engaging. And
does Ignite have an online presence?
not yet. I mean, we have our website, but we have our LinkedIn group,
You
all
have a
these kind
LinkedIn
of
group,
things.
but
But we don't have
that's
like
just
a
for your group. That's just for your group. Okay. So, and we can find you on LinkedIn as well, right?
yes, yes.
So
And we
Kate,
can, I mean, you can also find the web page and everything. It's official, but we don't have like an online community in that way.
okay. Well, we'll put a link to the Ignite webpage, and we'll connect to your LinkedIn page so
Yeah,
people
that'd be
want to
great.
connect with you, they can do that, and that'll be in the show notes. I'm really grateful for you being on here, and this has been great. It's, I've learned some more about you, but I've also learned something about myself, and I realized I realized why I've always felt out of sync with my own generation. And it's, I think I've always been a Gen Zer. I was a Gen Zer before they existed. And so it's really a nice thing to kind of conclude as a part of our conversation today. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much as well. Yeah, these kind of talks also give me kind of clarity, and I feel like so often I have these thoughts about how I want my life to be and how could my future be, and then I just then realize that, oh, I'm not by myself. Like, it's not just me being crazy, it's actually kind of a bigger movement. So yeah, that's also pretty nice for
Well,
me to know.
I'll add this into this because I think this is valuable. I had a conversation. I did one interview the other day with a man who is named Trevor Waldock. Sorry, I get names confused sometimes. Waldock, and he is working on a project on eldership, and so we had a conversation about elders, people who are older, and how do we engage people who are older to become elders in the sense of being sages and mentors and that sort of thing. And so I think that part of the key there is not people my age of thinking, well, I can be a mentor to them. Instead, saying we can be a mentor to one another. So there's a mutual mentorship that goes on, because you all have something to teach us if we will listen to you and respond. But we have to kind of be in the mindset, where we go back to mindset, that we're free to accept insight that then we do something with. I mean, that's, and I think that's really where businesses, but also communities thrive, is when we can actually share things with one another and say, oh, that's really helpful. That's going to make a difference for me. Oh, thank you. That's what, that sort of thing. And we do that kind of mutual mentoring. And the evening I spent with your Ignite group, I felt like that was going on. And that really solidified in my mind, okay, I want to be a mutual mentor with people, not simply a mentor. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, well, maybe it's time to go off and do all these other things that we want to go do, and travel today or whatever it may be. I wish you well as you finish your program and as you begin to take your next steps into the world of work and the world of travel and the world of serving people who are in this very flexible state of mind about work and career. And I wish you well.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for watching. Please sign up and hit the like button, but even more so, offer your comments, because when you comment, it means that we can comment back and we can have a conversation with you and you with us, very similar to what we were just saying about mutual mentoring. And that way, our conversation spreads much further and you get to be a part of that process. So thank you, and let's do that. And we'll see you again real soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.